Here's Wonder Mike, Hank, and Master G, the Sugar Hill Gang.
The hip, how you don't stop. Rock it out, baby, rubber to the boogity bang bang, the boogie to the boogity beat. Now what you hear is not a test, I'm rapping to the beat. And me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet.
Hip-hop culture was coined in the 70s by Caribbean immigrants in the Bronx to bring colored people together with a joyous, expressive, and empowering community. Hip-hop runs a movement of expression and activism affecting communities, cultures, and people globally. Hip-hop rose from an era of resistance and turbulence, the 1960s. There was the Civil Rights Movement, the Vietnam War, the First Man on the Moon, the March on Washington, the Black Power Movement, and the assassinations of JFK and MLK. Of course, there was much more, but these events alone paint a picture of how instrumental the decade was. Hip-hop was formed to support activism and expression in response to many events of the 60s. This was shown by hip-hop being anti-violence and anti-drug, with songs like Fight the Power by Public Enemy and Changes by Tupac focusing on racism and police brutality, and songs like Dope Man by NWA and Getting High by Trey the Truth spreading messages against drug use. Hip-hop took liberation from the inspiring movements and events of the 60s and was formed with the means for positive change, building an impactful community. The culture we call hip-hop started in the Bronx during the early 70s. The marker for the start of hip-hop is 1973 at 1520 Cedric Avenue, a DJ Kool Herc back-to-school jam. He had been messing around with 2 copies of the same record, looping them to elongate breaks in song beats or to mix one break into the break of another, something he called merry-go-round. Because of his innovations and the way he mixed and developed soul and funk to his own genre, Herc became one of the most respected people in the borough and now in the world, heralded as the father of hip-hop. Kool Herc rose to fame with the likes of Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five and Africa Bambaataa and Zulu Nation. These leaders made up the holy trinity of hip-hop. Africa Bambaataa used his platform to define hip-hop so it could be recognized as the genre. The Universal Zulu Nation, founded by Africa, organized events for youth, sharing music, dance, and other aspects of hip-hop culture, furthering the definitive recognition of the culture. These defining sectors of hip-hop include MCing, DJing, writing, b-boying, and the sharing of knowledge. Grandmaster Flash, a pioneer for the DJ movement, cemented his place in history by using DJing moves like backspinning and scratching. He expanded these ways of manipulating the use of vinyls, creating a uniquely hip-hop sound. The Furious Five grew larger upon releasing multiple hit songs that are now classics and set a basis for modern hip-hop music. But hip-hop started more than just a genre. It started a movement with a message. A quote from Chuck D says, "It's 2020. The Black Lives Matter protests wouldn't have happened without hip-hop. The culture informed and brought together generations of people from different backgrounds for moments needing unity like this." Rappers have been highlighting injustice in their music since the beginning. During the 2020 protests, the news stations were telling us of all the problems hip-hop had been targeting previously. Hip-hop was made by minorities in an unwealthy New York borough, and the messages can be very clearly connected. While listening to the lyrics, in most cases you're being told stories of their lives. Hip-hop culture is a way of self-expression and unified expression of a people, and the music is their protest. By building awareness and emphasizing so many problems constantly overlooked within communities that sprawl across the globe, though some decided to ignore what they were saying and criticize how they were saying it. Rap has been called violent and aggressive because of delivery and language. Some rap artists curse and yell or talk about violence, and these occurrences are more seen in modern rap and hip-hop. But if you listen to those aggressive or violent songs, it's only an expression of their emotions, anger, fear, or frustration, speaking on the struggles the writer or the community is facing. The artists are simply sharing their views, thoughts, and ideas, which is exactly what hip-hop is for, though the generalization of it as an angry or aggressive form comes from deep-seated racial biases. This negative judgment of rap and hip-hop comes predominantly from white communities, despite there being 70% of hip-hop consumers, whilst also making the most money off of hip-hop, as record labels and music companies are mostly owned by people outside of the hip-hop community. Despite the negative views, hip-hop and MC culture continue to flourish, following their path of sharing knowledge through music. The sound, the oomph, and the feeling received from hip-hop beats are strong. DJs formed hip-hop sound by using forms of scratching, reversing, and looping vinyl records. They used breakbeats to create a sound unique to hip-hop. The sound had a repeating bass line and drum beats, and stationed sample interruptions between them. The DJs took genres like neo-soul, funk, jazz, and R&B, They extracted sounds from each of them and grew their completely new genre. This creativity in the music inspired a large and diverse culture in non-instrumental aspects, which made hip-hop culture. B-boying, widely known as breakdancing, is hip-hop in a movement form. Just as a form of physical articulation, b-boy dancing is like nothing that had ever been witnessed before. Using fast-paced footwork, meticulous timing, pop-locking, acrobat, and freeze moves, b-boying culture was breathtaking to say the least. And b-boying often included battles where you would dance in competition to another group or individual. B-boying was eliminating expectations for dance styles at the time, as street dance styles had always been looked down upon, and some viewed b-boying as ugly or wild. The music, dances, and images in the video are clearly reminiscent of the era when pop culture reduced blacks to characters. Lazy coons, grinning pickaninnies, sexually supercharged bucks. Rashad D. Olsen on Chicken Noodle Soup. From outside and inside the colored communities, there was resistance towards accepting breakdance, prestigious dancers saying it wasn't real dance, and even bans against doing it in public. Yet b-boying stood proudly on the forefront of hip-hop and put a strong foot down on discrimination in dance styles. The writing, well known as graffiti, is a way of demanding recognition. Using bright colors and eye-grabbing fonts, it is something that irrevocably says, "I'm here and I'm not going away." Breakdance groups and DJs would often tag their names about the city and use graffiti art on hip-hop album covers. Artists like C. Adams and Lady Pink are examples of very influential artists to the culture of hip-hop. C. Adams, New York native, defined the visual culture of hip-hop. Being the founding creative director for Def Jam Records, he designed art for Run DMC, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, Biggie, Jay-Z, Mary J. Blige, and other remarkable artists. Lady Pink, Ecuadorian-born, New York City raised, was a young graffiti artist in the late 70s. Fighting for light in a male-dominated subculture, she used her art to show her power and is recognized as the pioneer of the wild-style graffiti art of the hip-hop era, even having a role in the Wild Style movie. I think wanting to paint subway trains was about identity. It was about figuring out how you could be bigger than your little life in your home, with your parents and your brothers and sisters, and I felt like a superhero. I had this secret identity, says C. Adams. C as an artist knows the graffiti was done to feed the soul. Graffiti was seen by some in a negative light because of the illegal aspect of it. Some people only saw mindless, meaningless vandalism, though the resentment towards it is because of the blindness to the message conveyed. Graffiti art plays a large part in the visual aspects of hip-hop, as well as the ideas of freedom, power, and declaration. Hip-hop culture in style and fashion has always been about being different and innovative. You want it to be fresh, swagger, or dope, and the style was defined by other aspects of hip-hop culture. Tracksuits and baggy clothes were worn by the breakdancers for free movement. The painted clothing from the artists, and bucket hats, chains, and Timbs among others are hip-hop fashion staples. Clothing was often popularized by lyrics or outfits artists and groups were seen wearing. If LL Cool J wore something, next thing you know, it was flying off the shelves. Hip-hop is a power movement, all about getting people heard, represented, and respected. The MCs provide knowledge through their raps, sharing stories and speaking out for a change. The B-boys represent power. Their statements are made through their dance moves, autonomously taking over. The graffiti artists make everyone see what needs to be seen, using a voice that must be heard no matter what. The DJs are the backboard, the basis of hip-hop being unique sounds, and providing a platform for which hip-hop culture stands. All these aspects of hip-hop make a culture that people love and a cultural identity they take pride in. Hip-hop's origination gave power to the minorities to grow and develop it into a platform for all people to have a voice. Hip-hop has undoubtedly changed the path of history and the lives of so many people, being a joyful movement for unified community expression and empowerment.